The sky was clear that morning. Birds flew without worry, and people walked to work as usual. No one knew the world was about to change forever. It began with a strange sound, low and humming, like a heartbeat in the clouds. Then came the light. Bright beams shot down from the sky in every major city. People screamed. Cars stopped. The world froze, but nothing exploded. Instead, something soft floated down. Petals, glowing golden petals, rained from the sky. Then the ships appeared. Silver, smooth and beautiful, the ships moved slowly through the clouds like giant swans. They didn't crash or shoot. They hovered, calm and silent. One by one, they landed across the planet in fields, deserts, city squares, and beaches. From each ship, they came. Alien women, tall, graceful, with glowing eyes and skin like light bronze under the sun. They wore robes that shimmered and moved like water. And when they stepped out, people backed away in fear. But these women did not bring weapons. They placed their hands over their hearts and bowed. The first words they spoke were clear and soft. We come in peace. We offer healing. We only ask to live beside your men. The world didn't know how to respond. News channels played the scenes over and over. Social media went wild. Were they angels? Were they invaders? Who were these women? They called themselves the Velari. Governments reacted quickly. Tanks rolled in. Jets circled overhead. Soldiers surrounded the ships, but the Velari did not fight. Instead, they opened boxes of glowing fruit that healed the sick. They poured liquid into polluted rivers, and the water became clean. Trees that had been dead for years grew green leaves in seconds. The military pulled back. Scientists begged to study the Velari's gifts. And still, the alien women asked for nothing except a chance to live, to share, and to connect with human males. Some people celebrated. Others feared them. But one man in a small farming town did something no one else dared. He offered them shelter. His name was Daniel. Daniel had a simple life. He lived alone, worked hard, and trusted no one. But when the Velari ship landed on the edge of his field, something inside him told him not to run. While others shouted at the aliens to leave, Daniel walked up and said, "You can stay, but don't bring trouble." A young Velari woman stepped forward. Her name was Sarah. She bowed deeply and smiled. "We will not harm you," she said. "We only wish to learn." Daniel didn't trust easily, but he didn't push her away either. He let Sarah stay in his guest room. He watched her carefully for days. She didn't eat much. She helped with the animals. She watched sunsets like they were magic. She never lied. At least, not that Daniel could tell. And slowly, the town began to change. More Velari visited. Some brought seeds that grew food in. Half the time, others healed old men who could barely walk. Children began to laugh again, running through fields that used to be dry and cracked. But not everyone was happy. Some people whispered that Earthmen were being tricked. They're using beauty to take over, they said. It's a trap. Daniel heard these things too. But each night, when he looked at Sarah sitting by the fire, reading his old books and humming songs in her strange, soft voice, he wondered, could she really be dangerous? One night Sarah spoke gently. "Your world is full of pain, but also full of hope. We have waited a long time to find such a place." Daniel asked, "What do you really want from us?" Sarah looked at him with those glowing eyes and said only, "A chance to begin again." And just like that, Daniel's heart cracked open. He didn't know what was coming. But he knew one thing for sure. The world would never be the same again because the day the sky opened was the day everything started. The gifts that changed everything. The town didn't sleep that night. Some watched the alien ship from their windows, others packed bags in fear. But Daniel stood on his porch, staring at the stars while Sarah quietly fed his animals in the barn. She moved like she had always lived there. No noise, no fear, just peace. By morning, everything changed. A child who had been sick for years stood and walked again after touching a crystal Sarah gave him. His mother cried so hard she collapsed. In another corner of town, crops that hadn't grown in months suddenly burst through the soil after Sarah sprinkled a strange silver dust. The mayor demanded answers. Scientists rushed in from the city. But Sarah and the other Velari said the same thing. These are our gifts. Use them well. News spread fast. Soon, helicopters circled the sky. Reporters knocked on Daniel's door. Some tried to bribe him for interviews. But Daniel wasn't interested in fame. He only wanted to understand why Sarah had chosen his quiet farm, and why she treated him like he was important. One afternoon, Daniel sat on the porch sipping cold tea while Sarah sat beside him, sketching flowers in a notebook. She didn't speak much, but when she did, every word felt thoughtful. "You have sadness in your eyes," she said. Without looking up, Daniel raised an eyebrow. "What makes you say that?" "You speak to your animals more than to people," Sarah replied, calm as ever. "That is not loneliness. That is hurt." Daniel didn't answer. He didn't need to. Somehow, she already knew, and yet he felt strangely comfortable. Sarah wasn't like any woman he had met, human or not. She didn't push, didn't demand. She asked questions that made him think. She laughed at his dry jokes. She made his old house feel warmer without changing a single thing. But around them, the world was shifting. In big cities, Velari women were walking the streets freely. They helped clean lakes, repaired broken machines just by touching them, and even made old buildings stronger with golden beams of light. Hospitals started to empty. Homeless shelters filled with food. Everywhere they went, they left hope. And in return, they asked for one thing: time with Earth's men. Not to control them, not to rule, just to understand them, to sit, speak, and connect. Many men said yes. Curiosity turned into trust. Trust turned into friendship. And some friendships turned into love. But not everyone celebrated. Some women on Earth felt pushed aside. They said the Velari were using charm to steal attention. Protests began. Online anger grew. But even in the middle of tension, the Velari stayed calm. "We are not here to replace," Sarah explained during one interview. "We are here to heal, to build something new with those who wish it." Back on the farm, Daniel watched all of this unfold on the old TV in his living room. Sarah sat next to him, watching the screen carefully. When she saw humans fighting over their presence, she looked down. "Do they hate us now?" she asked. Daniel took a deep breath. "People don't hate you. They're just scared of what they don't understand." Sarah looked at him, eyes glowing softly in the dim light. "And do you understand me, Daniel?" He didn't answer right away. He turned off the TV and looked at her closely. "No," he said honestly, "but I want to." That simple answer made Sarah smile, a smile that made the room feel brighter. Outside, lightning flashed in the distance. A storm was coming. But inside that small farmhouse, something new was growing. Not fear, not doubt. Something else. Connection. And somewhere deep in the Velari's strange technology, a silent signal blinked for the first time. Earth's heart was opening. And the Velari were watching closely. Love that knows no species. The seasons began to shift. Crops grew faster. Cleaner air filled the skies, and once empty lakes sparkled under sunlight. But it wasn't just nature that was changing, it was the people. Whispers spread across Earth. Whispers of peace, whispers of warmth, and most of all, whispers of love between alien and man. Daniel didn't believe in love anymore, not after losing everything years ago. But Sarah didn't try to love him. She simply was. She worked beside him. She listened when he spoke. She hummed softly when the nights grew cold. And one evening, as they walked through the blooming field of glowing blue wheat, the kind that only the Velari could grow, Daniel caught himself watching her, not with suspicion anymore, but with wonder. In towns across the globe, the same thing was happening. Men who had been alone for years were now sitting by fireplaces, talking softly with Velari partners. These alien women didn't rush. They didn't flirt the way humans did. They gave attention. They gave time. And in return, they received trust. The Velari didn't care about money or power. They were drawn to strength of heart, kindness in hands, and gentleness in words. Sarah never asked Daniel to hold her. But one stormy night, when thunder shook the windows, she stood at his bedroom door and said quietly, "Would it be all right if I stayed here until the storm ends?" Daniel nodded. She lay down beside him, her skin slightly glowing in the dark. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. For the first time in years, Daniel slept without a single nightmare. And in the morning, the sun rose on something neither of them dared name yet, but it was real. Love was not rare between species now. Human Velari unions were happening all over Earth. Some even resulted in the impossible children, half human, half Velari. They were born healthy, glowing softly like their mothers, but with the minds of humans and strange, quiet gifts that scientists didn't yet understand. Governments began drafting agreements. Velari ambassadors worked beside human leaders. Trade began, technology for land, healing for shelter. A balance was forming. But while some saw beauty in this union, others saw danger. Groups formed, angry, loud, and afraid. They accused Earth's men of betraying their own kind. "You are falling for aliens." They shouted in cities, "You're forgetting your own species." Daniel saw the protests on the news, shaking his head. Sarah didn't speak about them, but he could tell it hurt her. Each time she looked at those angry faces on screen, something in her eyes dimmed. One day, while Sarah was working in the field, Daniel found an old photograph. It was of him and his late wife, smiling in the sunshine years ago. He sat with the photo in his hands, thinking. When Sarah returned, he didn't hide it. She sat beside him quietly. "She was kind," Daniel said, pointing at the photo. "She loved this place." Sarah looked at the picture. "You carry her in your eyes," she whispered. Daniel sighed. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm betraying her memory by letting someone new into my heart." Sarah didn't try to comfort him with soft lies. She just said, "Love isn't a box that holds only one. It grows, it changes, and it always finds its way if you let it." That night, Daniel kissed her for the first time. It wasn't like in the movies. No music played. No fireworks burst. Just two souls, one from Earth and one from the stars, finally crossing the last silent space between them. But somewhere beyond the skies, a message was being passed between Velari ships. A quiet alert, one word, progressing. They had waited years to find a planet with the right energy, the right hearts. And now they were closer than ever. But was it truly peace they sought? Or was something else hidden behind those glowing smiles? Daniel didn't know. Earth didn't know. But for now, love was winning. And no one was ready to question what it might cost. Asterisk secrets beneath the smiles at first. It was easy to believe this new world was perfect. Men smiled more. Cities grew greener. Even crime rates dropped in some places. It felt like a second chance. For humanity, one wrapped in soft voices, glowing hands, and eyes that promised peace. But peace, Daniel learned, can sometimes hide the deepest secrets. Sarah still smiled the same way. still help with the animals, still listen to Daniel's quiet thoughts. But some nights, when she thought he was asleep, she would stand outside, facing the stars, speaking in her own language whispers that drifted like wind, strange and musical, but never meant for human ears. Daniel tried to ignore it. He told himself she was just homesick, but the feeling in his chest wouldn't go away. One evening, he followed her without a word. She walked beyond the fields to where the grass shimmered under starlight. There, she placed her hands on the ground, and a soft light rose around her feet. From that light, a small screen appeared in the air, hovering, glowing, pulsing. She spoke into it softly. The bonding has begun. Earth males are responding well. Resistance remains minimal. We proceed as planned. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He stepped back, but a twig cracked under his boot. Sarah turned, eyes wide, her glow dimming. "You were listening," she said quietly. Daniel didn't speak. His face said everything. Sarah lowered her head. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is," Daniel said, his voice low. Sarah looked into his eyes. "We didn't come to invade. We came to survive. Our kind was dying. No males left. No future. Earth was our last hope. We never meant to lie, but we couldn't come as beggars. You would have turned us away." Daniel stepped back. "So all this, your kindness, your love, was just a plan?" "No," she said quickly. "What I feel for you is real. I never faked that. But I am still Velari. I still follow orders." His heart felt heavy. Everything had felt so true, so real. Back in the towns, things were growing tense too. More and more human women began speaking out. "Our men are being taken," they shouted. "Families are breaking. This is not peace, it's replacement." Some protests turned violent. A Velari healer in New York was attacked during a ceremony. She didn't fight back, but her hands glowed, and everyone who touched her fell unconscious. The media called it an accident, but rumors spread like wildfire. Daniel sat alone that night, turning everything over in his mind. The laughter, the healing, the kindness. Had it all been a soft invasion? But when he looked up, Sarah stood in the doorway again, silent. "I didn't choose Earth," she whispered, "but I chose you." That night, he didn't answer her. He didn't push her away either. They sat in the dark, side by side, saying nothing because they didn't know what to say. Across the world, governments met in secret. Some wanted to ban the Velari. Others wanted to use their tech for war. The balance that once felt so sure was now trembling, and the Velari? They were watching, waiting, and sending signals to each other from ship to ship. One word passed between them again. Divide. Daniel didn't know what it meant. But he knew one thing: something bigger was coming. Something that could either unite the world or tear it apart. And Sarah, the one he thought he knew, now stood at the center of a truth too large to hold. The smiles had been real, but so were the secrets. The true mission revealed. The morning came with silence. Not the peaceful kind. This was the heavy quiet that comes just before something breaks. Daniel stood in his kitchen, hands wrapped around a cup of black coffee, watching Sarah from the window. She was in the garden, still barefoot, touching the soft petals of alien-grown flowers. Her movements were gentle. But now, Daniel wondered, was it all practiced? He hadn't spoken a full sentence to her in days. News reports were no longer cheerful. Velari stations had been attacked in 4 cities. 2 human leaders resigned after being caught in private unions with Velari. People were scared. And scared. People make dangerous choices. Daniel turned off the TV. He didn't want more noise. He wanted truth. When Sarah walked inside, her glow seemed dimmer than usual. She placed a basket of fresh fruit on the table and said quietly, we need to talk." Daniel didn't move. He didn't blink. Sarah sat down, looking older than she had ever seemed before. "There was once a world far from this one," she began. "It was full of love and beauty, much like yours. But our men became cruel, power-hungry. They made war. They destroyed the balance. Our skies burned, oceans dried. And in the end, all our males were gone." Daniel stared. He said nothing. Sarah continued, her voice trembling now. "We tried to rebuild. We thought we didn't need men. For a while, we survived on technology and memory. But the spirit of a people cannot grow from cold machines. We began to weaken. Our numbers fell. Our children failed to develop. And so, we searched the stars." Her eyes found Daniel's. "We didn't come to conquer you. We came to connect, to find balance again. Earth is the only place where male energy still holds both strength and heart. We needed that. We needed." Daniel stood up slowly, his voice low. "So you chose Earth because our men were what? Strong? Loving? Easy to use?" "No," she said sharply. "Because your world still believes in hope. That's what we lost, but you still carry it." He shook his head. "And what happens? Now? What's the plan? Just marry off Velari women until your people grow strong again?" Sarah stood too. "It wasn't supposed to go this far. We planned to stay hidden. Just heal, blend in, survive quietly. But then, we fell in love. Some of us, like me, forgot the mission. We became part of this place." Daniel looked down. "And the children? The half-human, half-Velari ones? They're our future," she whispered. "A future where both species live, not just survive." For a moment, the walls around Daniel's heart cracked. He remembered the boy in town who used to walk with crutches, now running, laughing, healed by a Velari gift. He remembered the dying soil of his farm, now rich and alive. And he remembered the long nights alone, before Sarah filled them with light, but truth had weight. And this truth felt like a mountain pressing on his chest. Meanwhile, around the world, powerful men were making plans. Leaders of secret groups met in dark rooms. They called it the Purity Pact. Their goal? Remove all Velari influence. Return Earth to what it was. And they were preparing to strike. Daniel didn't know about the weapons being built. He didn't know about the ambush he planned. But Sarah did. That night, she stood by his bed and said quietly, "If they come for us, I will not run. I have made my home here, and I will protect it, even if it costs me everything." Daniel didn't sleep. His heart was at war with itself. Love, betrayal, truth, and something else. Fear. The world was changing again. And for the first time since the Velari arrived, Daniel realized this was no longer about aliens and humans. It was about survival. Of both hearts. And worlds. The resistance rises. It began with fire. 3 Velari. Shelters were burned overnight in different corners of the earth. No one claimed responsibility, but the message was clear. The age of quiet peace was over. The cities that once welcomed the alien women with flowers and curiosity now swarmed with protest signs, angry voices, and threats. The air grew colder. Men who once smiled at their Velari partners now hesitated. And some turned their backs completely. Daniel woke to shouting in the distance. He stepped onto his porch and saw smoke rising from the nearby town. People were running. Some were armed. His neighbor, an old man who once traded vegetables with Sarah, now held a sign that read, "Earth for Earthlings." Inside the house, Sarah sat calmly, holding a folded note. Her glow was gone. Her skin looked pale, almost gray. Daniel asked what the note said. "They're coming," she whispered. "For all of us." Daniel sat beside her. He could see the fear hiding beneath her still voice. Not fear for herself, but for what would happen to those she loved. For weeks now, Velari women had been leaving public areas, returning to their ships, hiding in forests, deserts, and farms. Only a few stayed behind, the ones with strong ties to humans, the ones like Sarah. "We need to leave," Daniel said. "Now," but Sarah shook her head. "Running won't stop this. They'll chase us." Hate always chases hope. Later that day, a group of masked men arrived. Armed and shouting, they called for Sarah to come out. They claimed she was brainwashing Daniel, that she was part of a bigger takeover. One of them raised a weapon. Daniel stood in front of his house. "You'll have to go through me first." They did not fire, but they left him a warning. "You've been marked," one man growled. "Next time, we won't just talk." When they were gone, Sarah walked out, touched Daniel's shoulder, and whispered, "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," he replied. "You're not the enemy. Hate is." In cities far away, the situation grew worse. A human Velari child was taken by force and disappeared. A Velari healer was found beaten near a broken fountain. Fear was spreading like poison, and from that fear, a storm of violence was rising. But then, something unexpected happened. The children, the half-human, half-Velari children, began to act. One by one, without speaking, they gathered in the public squares. They stood still, their eyes glowing gently, their hands open. When people shouted at them, they did not flinch. When someone threw a rock, the rock stopped in mid-air, floating, spinning, then dropping without harm. And then they spoke. Not with mouths, but with hearts. Every person nearby heard the same message in their minds. "We are not war. We are the bridge. Hurt us, and you hurt your own future." Across the globe, cameras caught these silent messages. People fell too, their knees in tears. Others threw down their weapons. Some still resisted. But something deep and powerful had awakened. Back on the farm, Daniel saw the change in the sky. The stars pulsed. The wind shifted. Sarah stood near the barn, hands on her chest. She turned to Daniel, her eyes wide with tears. "It's begun," she whispered. "The children have chosen peace." But the question now was, would the adults follow? A storm of hate still brewed in dark corners. The resistance wasn't gone, but their power was breaking, because the future had already spoken, and it refused to be built on blood. A paradise reborn. 5 years had passed since the sky first opened. The earth Daniel once knew, the one filled with noise, pollution, and endless conflict, was gone. In its place stood something new. Not perfect, not always peaceful, but different in a way no one could have imagined. Daniel walked through his fields as the sun rose, casting gold over the land. Crops shimmered with life, nourished by Velari soil enhancers. Streams once dry now danced with crystal-clear water. Trees whispered in the wind, stronger and taller than before. It looked like earth, but felt like a dream. Children's laughter echoed in the air, not just human children. The hybrids, the ones born from human fathers and Velari mothers, ran through the fields with glowing hands and bright eyes. Some could heal animals with a single touch. Others made dead flowers bloom. They were not feared anymore. They were loved. Daniel sat under the old tree at the edge of his farm, watching them play. Sarah sat beside him, her hair now streaked with silver light, her glow softer but still warm. He reached out and gently held her hand. "You remember when this place was just dust?" he asked with a quiet smile. Sarah nodded. "I remember when. Your heart was the same." Daniel chuckled. "I guess we both needed each other more than we knew." After the resistance fell, after the children stood together and made the world pause, something changed in the human spirit. Not all hearts. opened, but enough did. Slowly, one by one, people began to listen instead of fight. They saw that love wasn't about species. It was about truth, connection, a desire to build, not destroy. Governments that once planned war signed new peace pacts co-written by both human and Velari leaders. Schools welcomed hybrid children. Velari healers worked alongside human doctors. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was home for two civilizations joined not by force, but by choice. Daniel had never seen himself as a hero. He was just a farmer who said yes when no one else would. But now, children called him Grandfather Earth. His story was taught in schools. His porch, once quiet and forgotten, had become a place of peace where people came just to sit and learn. Sarah smiled at him, resting her head on his shoulder. "You gave me more than shelter," she whispered. "You gave my people a future." He looked at her gently. "Now, you gave us a reason to become better." In the distance, a ship rose into the sky not for war, but as a symbol of new beginnings. Humans and Velari now explored the stars together, searching not for new planets to conquer, but to learn, grow, and never repeat the mistakes that nearly destroyed them both. Back on Earth, the hybrids, the children of light and soil, were building cities that touched the clouds. Their voices shaped new languages. Their dreams became bridges between cultures. Earth had not become paradise because of wealth or control. It had become paradise because for the first time in history, love not fear led the way. Daniel closed his eyes as a gentle wind passed through the tall grass. He could hear the hum of alien birds, the laughter of children, and the slow, steady heartbeat of a world healing. He had seen what humans could do at their worst, but now he was lucky enough to witness what they could become at their best, and that made all the pain worth it. Because in the end, Earth wasn't saved by war or by weapons. It was saved by love that crossed galaxies, and it all started with a single choice: to open the door